Hello, Dr. Dembski Cameron. This is Andrew. I'm here with my critique of my video. I think my active listening was well. I paid attention, um, tried to keep eye contact as best you can through a video. Um, but I made sure that, I paraphrased the issues that we talked about with her, in the beginning, and then, when we went over her goals. Um, we covered the confidentiality part right in the beginning. And also, my goal to let her know that, it's a space for her to feel safe and open, to be able to discuss whatever she wants. Um, and then we moved into, what brought her there. I asked her to, review what brought her there today. And she discussed her main concerns. Um, you know, how she was starting to, you know, be depressed again because she lost her feeling of purpose with her old job, where she used to help people, and that caused her to turn back to some self-harm techniques that she's done in the past. So she actually came up with a really good scenario, I think. Didn't make it too easy for me. Um, I think I asked a lot of open-ended questions, to get her to expand, a little bit more, but I think while I asked a lot of open-ended questions, I maybe could have helped direct them a little bit better instead of leaving them, so generic and open for her to have to try to come up with everything on her own. And I probably could have mixed in, I feel like I asked enough direct questions in there. Not even sure if I did ask any direct questions, to be honest with you. Um, I made sure that I kept all of my personal experiences out of there. There was many times I I could relate with her and about the lack of sleep, the feeling depressed, the loss of her sense of purpose, the isolation, all things that I've experienced and could easily relate with and really wanted to bring it up. But I made sure that I didn't. I may have slipped in there a couple of times, but if I did, it was, I tried to keep it very brief, just said that I, can relate how that feels instead of going into a deep conversation about it. Um, I got her to, let's see, talk about her strengths, things that worked for her in the past, the things that didn't work for her in the past, some of her weaknesses. If she had some support system, who she could, help, who she could turn to for some help, anyone that could, you know, she talked about accountability a lot. And, if there was anyone that she could be accountable to, which she really said there was only a couple of people, but, she didn't really have them currently. So, maybe she said she was pretty accountable to herself. So I kind of, use that, even though I'm not too sure if, self accountability is the best thing. It's usually very helpful to have somebody else to be accountable to. Um, but accountability, some accountability is better than nothing. Um, I made sure that she was involved in everything. Um, I had her come up with some goals, instead of giving her goals. We talked about, some previous things that worked, things that didn't work, so to make sure that we didn't, use them again. But I wanted her to make sure that she was part of, coming up with her goals. obviously, because the more you're involved in your own care, the more motivated you are to work towards those goals. I would say she was definitely in the contemplation stage. She was aware, because she's been through this before. I didn't really have to try to convince her or, say anything to get her to realize, what she was dealing with. She knew exactly what she was dealing with, what caused it, why it was happening, and why she was back and all that stuff. Um, I feel like there was a lot of times where I struggled to come up with questions. Um, I kind of felt like the silence was a little bit uncomfortable at times when I was trying to think of questions, but I think in time as I do this more and get comfortable with the people I'm working with, that will start to come a lot more easier. Um, One thing I wasn't sure about is towards the end, when we were kind of getting ready to wrap things up, I asked her about the self-harm, which I kind of feel like was out of place because I think it should have been more in the beginning, when we covered, the issues and stuff, or even with the goals. But, at the same time, it wasn't, really the main focus because it's kind of an effect of her issues instead of the issue itself. So maybe I could have just left it out at the end instead of even asking it at all. But um, I asked her if there was any resources that she could think of. Instead of asking her for resources, maybe I probably could have given her some resources. Um, let's see. I was definitely nervous, but I think the more I do this, the more confidence I'll get, and I don't think I'll have issues with that in the future. But I also was kind of nervous because I didn't want to screw it up or I didn't want to miss something, have it affect you know affect the grade or anything like that. Or I also was nervous that I would ask the wrong kind of question or maybe ask something that wasn't the right way to ask it, or maybe feel uncomfortable and stuff. So I took a lot of time to think about what I wanted to ask and how I should ask it, and that was some of the nervousness, but it also caused a lot of the silence. So, well, to wrap it up, I'd just like to say I really enjoyed your class, and thank you very much. I've actually learned a lot from this class, and a lot of stuff I hope to keep and use in the future and take forward with me. And maybe I'll have you again as an instructor at some point. So thank you very much.